just continue to move imperfectly forward. As long as you're progressing forward, those are the moments where perfection will eventually come, because perfection is a mindset. There's no perfect thing, but having a perfection mindset in creating the perfect situation. Because sometimes the situation won't be perfect, but you can always create the perfect situation.
Darnell Davis is in the house. Hey, Darnell.
Hello, hello, hello.
Now, when we met at a networking group or networking event, which is not lots of fun, of course. And you're located in the Lehigh Valley, Pennsylvania.
Mm-hmm.
And what I noticed once I started to follow you and follow your LinkedIn and your Facebook is that you are a super duper networker. You're the one putting some of these events together. So tell me, what is it that you actually do? Give an introduction to your work, Darnell.
So I get asked that question all the time. In fact, it was funny because I didn't realize how much I actually did until someone, actually last week we were at a networking event. Someone says, you do a hell of a lot of things, man. I go, what are you talking about? They go, how many businesses do you own? Like five, six? I was like, no, I don't own that many. What? Where is this coming from? Like, who told you this? They go, but you're just so busy. And I really only do two things. That's really what I essentially tell people. Like, I actually only have two companies, right? That I can say there are two companies. However, one company has several different moving parts. I'll talk about it like by day. This is the business is the Evolve Media Group, and the subsidiary groups, companies that come along, or businesses that come underneath of that. Not necessarily, they're not different businesses as in a new entity, but these are products and services that that company offers. And I do that because I'm a group of companies. So it's not just my company per
Mm-hmm.
se, but
Mm-hmm.
what I have done is I've reached out to people who needed support in promoting their business. And, there are a lot of people that are great at the business of doing what they do. Right. I know a lot of great accountants like yourself. I know a lot of graphic designers. I know videographers. I know people who all have these wonderful business ideas or these abilities, but one of the abilities that they lack is sales
Mm.
and or marketing themselves. Right. And so, um, I realize that I can talk to people.
Yes, you can.
While I prefer in some cases to not talk to people, but I can do it when necessary. I can really, really, really ham it up with the best of them, if you will. And so I realized a few years ago that I have the gift of gab, and I like sales. I like talking to people.
Mm-hmm.
I like selling other people's products, but I don't want to have a job selling someone's product.
Right.
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 So like I could sell a car, but I want to be someone's car salesman, if you will. And
Yeah.
so what I designed this company to do is to be a group of companies, and basically under my banner, several other companies exist. And because of the products and services that I offer underneath of that banner, those are actually other companies. What I have done is invested in them, their marketing or their sales. And so essentially the way that I've been able to really curate this business is I've bought into some companies or have JVs with others
Mm-hmm.
where I'm able to offer their services without necessarily having to do the work. So I'm a business broker, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
I love helping people, but I realized I'm not good at everything.
Right.
In fact, I'm not good at many things.
Mm-hmm.
But a wise man once told me you hire or you partner with where you're weakest. And so I decided that's what we're going to do with the group. So that's why it's called the Evolve Media Group. Technically, it's the Evolve Media Group of companies
Yes.
because it's a group of other organizations or other companies coming out. In that particular company, the two kind of front-facing things that I do inside of that is you have my trainings. Most people who know me for doing their LinkedIn trainings and speaking, so that falls underneath of the group. That's something that I'm really passionate about. Kind of off shot from that would be the support that we offer when with my partnership with Pete Ranka and Friends of Pete and that networking group.
Hmm.
And so we've developed that we're really developing that model out right
Right.
now. And then the new relaunch of a company that's within the company is Thrive Public Relations and Productions. Essentially, that's in my new production or my event company.
Gotcha.
Obviously, you said it. I've been planning events for years, but
Yes.
never really put a formal face or a formal brand in front of it. So that's what Thrive is now. I mean, to date, over the last couple of years, I'm going to say we're close to 50 events in. It's kind of cool, being having been behind the scenes with it, and now we're kind of doing the front, we're starting to push that brand out to start accepting external clients as well. This was something I wanted to keep in-house for the longest because I wanted to, and I'm still growing and I'm still trying to, work out the procedures
Hmm.
and the policies inside of what we're doing because it's one thing for you to produce your own event. And it's another thing to bring on someone else's event and care for it as if it was your own. And so there's that. And then when I kind of say, kind of seeing all those things that I do during the day,
Hmm. Hmm.
at night, I'm a superhero, is what I like to call myself. At
You
night, I'm a
definitely
superhero.
you definitely
And,
have superpowers, that's for sure.
and so I'm the co-founder of a non-for-profit here in the Lehigh Valley that
Hmm.
combats human trafficking on many different
Hmm.
fronts. The first front is we have an outreach in a program called the Community Intervention Services, which I'm actually running that department. And that's is us getting on the streets and combating human trafficking from a preventive standpoint versus a reactive or supportive standpoint. We're trying to say, hey, if you know that people are at high risk of being trafficked or exploited, let's get resources. Let's talk resources. Let's talk support before you need the support so that you don't have to make decisions that put you at high risk. So
Right.
we offer that. And then the second thing that's about to start happening now, actually, we've been doing it for a couple of years since 2021, but now we've actually started formally pursuing it a little bit deeper thanks to a grant from the city of Bethlehem and a couple of other grantors and now a new contract that we're working through getting the details finalized on through the Medicaid system,
Hmm.
and so that's our community mental health program.
Hmm.
And essentially, what that is combating human trafficking by delivering mental health support to the community because one of the factors that we see is that traffickers and when have you utilize people's weaknesses and a lot of time that weakness is trauma. Those are things that are not happening at home for younger people, and so offering those therapies, psychotherapies, and hopefully being able to get people to get those things off their chest and start working through those traumas. Hopefully, what we're doing again is reducing the exposure for someone to have been that risk factor being diminished greatly because we're actually out here saying we're actually trying to do that from a preventive standpoint in hopes that we can save someone. We may not be able to catch them all, but at least we can catch a few right before they fall to the ground. And so that's kind of the second phase of what I do. But essentially, I only do two things. I do Evolve Media Group, and I run and I co-run Aspire to Autonomy. Those are the two things that I do every day. But because I'm active, people seem to think that I have a lot of things going on, but I have to be honest with you. I don't have that much going on.
Yeah.
I
Well,
just it looks like it because I'm a hard worker. I get up and I begin, I believe in just because you're a small business doesn't mean you necessarily have to do business small. And
right.
you don't have to seem small because you're a small business. That's kind of my mantra. And so a lot of times people tend to think that I'm busier or bigger than I actually am. But to be honest with you, here in this area, I'm a one-man team, but my other supports would span, not only around the country, but I have other supports even around the globe, thanks to the LinkedIn platform.
That's wonderful. I have to say, you are doing, you do a lot. You're busy. Busy, what I learned in my, as being a coach and from Grant Cardone, I'm a 10X business coach. I've learned that busy actually helps in the creativity. So, if the more you actually do, the more opportunities come up and the more ideas people are helping you with and that kind of thing. But I want to ask you a question when it comes to that social media or the marketing rather, and the sales. Um, in your opinion, what is more important, marketing or sales?
What's more important, your right or your left hand? I gotta I have to say it, I have to say it like that. What's more, it really is right or left hand, right?
Right.
You need them both equally. And I would dare tell people to put an emphasis on both in creating or developing yourself in both when it comes to running your business. Is Yeah, marketing is fine, but what good is marketing if you don't have the close? And what good is having a closer
Absolutely.
if you don't have anybody to talk about what it is that you do, so you can get that pipeline filled? So it's a balancing act. I get it, but it is right hand, left hand. It's just now some people may be right handed, so one thing might be more dominant, right, on the
Right,
right
right.
side, or
Absolutely.
somebody might be left handed, and that thing might be more dominant. But you need them both equally in order to really sustain your business.
Yeah, no, absolutely. You are my hero. You are my hero. So Grant Cardone says that marketing is senior to sales, but and I agree because you can't sell to anybody if you haven't gotten them in some kind of way, right? They got to come and get in front of you. So it's not that it's more important to sales, it's that it usually comes first,
Well,
right?
again, it's something that you need. You need
Right,
them both, right? It's
right.
like, okay, so one hand is going to be more dominant than the other,
Yeah,
right? It's
yeah,
not
yeah.
saying they don't have one. It's not one super weaker. It's
Right.
just that you need it more. A little, you use it more. So if
Yeah,
you're right-handed, you're
yeah.
using it to pick up things, and your left hand is kind of left alone out here. The blessing for me is I'm ambidextrous. So I'm like, so for me, I'm using both hands at all the time. And so that's just kind of how I operate. I don't see them one or greater than the other because I feel like the experience is that. But with them both, if you want to add a third thing in there, is a close,
Yeah,
right? A closer. Because you can have all the great marketing, you can have some salespeople, but if you don't have a closer, if you're not closing, what good is it? All
yeah,
that's for naught. You're just
yeah.
talking about yourself and telling people about what you're talking about. But then if you're not closing them, you're not making that transaction, you're not finalizing that transaction. So equal, like I said, there's one, two, and then there's the third party. I'll say the closer is the other person that really needs to be efficient inside that 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 brain of yours. It has to be one, two, three. It's a one, two, three
Exactly.
punch.
Exactly. So you seem like obviously not even seem, but you are definitely passionate. You are definitely passionate about what you do. I see it in person when I see you, as well as right here, in this event here. Tell me, where do your passions and your motivation come from?
Okay, do you want do you want I can give you two versions, right? One is the quick, I can give you the quick general answer, and then the other is I can give you like a little laundry list of where it comes from.
I'd like the
You know,
laundry list. Give it.
I'll give you the more detailed laundry
Yes,
list.
please. Yes,
All
please.
right. So 18th birthday,
Mm,
right? My dad comes in. I'm still technically in high school when this happens. My dad
uh-huh.
comes in and he gives me a box. He gives me this box. And I'm like, what the heck is this? Right. And it's a card, so there's a card and a book. So it's a box, a book, and a card.
Okay.
The card was, happy birthday, rare because I rarely got presents from my dad on my
Mm,
birthday like this. So it was kind
okay.
of odd. Like,
Uh-huh.
okay, this is weird. I know I'm 18 now. And I know Uncle Sam sent me that postcard, was like, hey, happy birthday, buddy. Here's your Bic. big razor in a car to sign up for selective services. A little bit after that was this conversation with my dad.
Hmm.
And so this thing that this card, this box. So the card was, happy birthday, proud of you, good luck to the rest of the school, good luck with the school year coming because it's your senior in high school. It's all that, you're gonna make something of yourself.
Hmm.
You go, that's number one. That's the first thing. Then there was a book, and the book was How to Win Friends and Influence People.
Mm.
I
Okay.
was like, oh, that's an interesting read because, well, I don't read like that outside of school. I never really wanted to, but he was like, you should really read this book. And the third thing was this box, and it was bothering me because it was a nice size box and it was heavy. And I was like, what the heck did he give me? So I open up the box, and it's an Amway sales kit.
Mm.
Right. And if you know about who Amway
Right.
is, if you know anything about multi-level marketing, if you know anything, these were the pioneers of that thing. And so
Yeah.
my dad had given me a full Amway kit. And the reason why it was heavy is because it had one of them big things of SA8. They had the laundry detergent in there. Right. And so I was like, that was what was heavy about it. And one of the things that he said to me was, I could give you money. You're young and stupid. You'll spend it. I could buy you a car, or you could work. I could help you get a car, but you're young, you're stupid. You'll crash it, right? You could crash it. But if I give you this business, one of the things that you'll do is this keys in this business, the things that you'll learn in this kit, out of this kit, you'll never get that word, have to work for someone else ever again in your life.
Mm.
There are going to be times where you may need to, but you won't have to, right? And so that kind of sparked it. But then growing up, although my dad was, my dad was a man of many talents, a musician and what have you. Um, he worked for an electrician company. He was an electrician, but he also had his own electrician's company. So that was kind of the start, right? That was kind
Hmm.
of the kind of the motive, the inspiration was that it was like, you know what? You don't have to work for someone. You can choose to work for someone. Some people choose to work for themselves and bet on themselves. Sometimes in that choice, you choose not to work for someone else may mean that you don't the income rise may be, you'll have some peaks and valleys and everything. It won't be as consistent, but you'll
Right.
be doing things on your own terms.
Right.
The other side, the converse to that would be choosing to work for someone means you'll have more stability, right? You'll have more stability or consistency, but you won't have any freedom, right? Because you're at that point and have to decide. You're during that. If someone else decides when you can take a break, when you can go on vacation, when you can do that. So in lieu of that, they're paying you for your time. So those
Right.
are the kind of motivators. Like, did I really want to build a life where I'm making X amount of dollars, but I don't have X amount of life?
Mm.
Or do you choose to bet on yourselves and build something uh, for your future together?
Mm.
My theory was I'm gonna do a little bit of both at that time. In my youth, I did a little bit of both. And so that starts the game. That starts it off. Then
Awesome.
I call her the first jewel in my crown, right?
Okay. Okay.
And that's when Lady Diamond was born. And then Lady Diamond being born, my oldest daughter being born, kind of shifted some things in perspective. Was like, ooh, I got to get serious about this thing.
Mm.
And so during that time period, I went that entrepreneurship way, and I was a mortgage consultant. I went into banking,
Hmm.
and then I had a son. My
Mm.
son passed, and that kind of did something else to me, and it made me think about, well, the shortness of life. That
Yeah.
brought a different perspective for me.
Mm.
Fast forward some years, things were looking good, things are great, and lo and behold, my younger two children are now born, and here they are. So my motivation and inspiration are those three.
Awesome.
technically the four,
Yes.
right? Or those are both my inspiration and motivation. Not necessarily to give them like what we would perceive as this stellar lifestyle, but to leave them something, to give them something that if I'm not here, it's still longer. The legacy lasts longer than I do, and give them something that they can walk away, that I can leave here knowing that that's, you know, that they're taken care of. And so it doesn't look the same always up front, but building something on the back end for them is called ultimately like what motivates me. Now, what inspires me is it's selfish in a way, but it is what inspires me
Hmm.
is seeing other people succeed. That's
I
my
know.
inspiration. It's a weird way of looking at it, but what inspires me, especially seeing what I do, is
Yeah.
seeing that when we work together with a company and they reach their success goals, we set these goals or we set that, these milestones and they hit them and they're excited, right?
Yes.
That's an inspiration, right?
Yeah.
Going to these networking events, hosting these networking events, and seeing 150 people show up to your event, right? That inspires me because that means that the business that we're hosting the event at is getting exposure. Now there's 150 people that are in the room. What percentage of those individuals didn't even know that this business existed prior to our organization, our little group coming and doing. So there's an exposure factor. I
Yeah.
get joy from that. That inspires me to continue to move forward. And then the other one other things that inspire me, it's really simple, man. It's seeing other people do what they want to do, to live their dream, live their dream. And
Hmm.
I don't care if it's not about what they're wearing, it's not about what they're driving, it's none of those different things. It is honestly seeing people in the driver's seat of their life, seeing people taking charge of what it is they're doing. So if you chose that you wanted to work for a company, and hey, how many business development people are in my network, people have chose to work for a company but their job is the network. That
Yes.
excites me because I know that in creating these spaces, we're helping them develop their pool, their book of business, and that they have a bunch of people to potentially call upon. So those are the things that inspire and motivate me.
Yeah, and that's awesome because let me tell you something. People do business with people. I say that all the time. The fact of the matter is that what you're doing, it's exponential. Like you said, you are, bringing people to the venue, but you're bringing people to each other. And that is a superpower. That is a superpower. All right. So tell me, what are some of your key achievements and milestones, Darnell?
You know, Hmm. there's a couple. There's a couple.
Yeah.
I think just in recent history, I think one of the key achievement and milestones is when um our meetup hit 1,000 people.
Ooh, when was that?
That was earlier this fall. Our
Wow, I
meetup hit a
missed that.
thousand people.
I missed that one.
And the reason why I got excited for that and why I felt as that was a milestone is not because of the 1,000 people that ended up on our meetup, nor the 150 people that average at our happy hours, and about the 60 or 70 people that come to our lunch and learns.
Yes.
Is that in 2020, when everything shut down, the world shut down, right? Pete and I had decided, hey, how do we communicate with the people, because a lot of our people are going through, they're struggling with their mental health, they're
Yeah.
struggling with their business and their finances. A lot of people don't know whether or not their job is even going to exist in 2 days or whatever, when it's time to come back.
Yeah.
And so we started doing weekly check-ins on Zoom every
Okay.
week. We started doing it every week. And um those moments were when we got to meet with everybody and talk, and hearing the success stories, hearing people, having to make transition moves. So that was 3 years ago.
Mm,
And we just started really using the meetup about a year and a half
okay.
ago.
Okay.
And to be at 1,000 people within a year to me was a milestone because it was a culmination of several years worth of support and community engagement that allowed us to get to that. And so that's I would say that was a key moment. Some of the other
Okay.
key moments would I would say in recent history. I mean, there's a lot of them. I
Hmm.
can get into my own education. I can get into this somewhat success that I've had over the years. That those are all those are milestones, if you will. But other milestones I want to keep like recent, right? Is so we have that milestone. Um, it was it was finishing my LinkedIn book over the summer, and that was another milestone because I've been preaching LinkedIn for so long, for
Right.
probably a good 12 years, and
Hmm.
finishing that book was a milestone for me because it took my vision of the LinkedIn Masters training program, and it actually put it to paper. It's tangible, even though I'm not selling it to the open public.
Who gets a
I
copy and what is it called? Let's start there. What is it
it,
called?
it's called the LinkedIn Black Book, but no one will get it because the only way that you can get access to is you have to have taken my LinkedIn Masters class.
Oh,
So it's free for everybody who attends the training.
ah,
And so launching that as a result, launching the book, but as a result, the LinkedIn Masters training was another unique milestone over the last year
mhm.
that I feel as though is really starting to show the hard work and dedication and coming and things coming together. And then,
Love it.
I mean, obviously just all the life stuff, there's so many life milestones that I can get, but um, Thursday was another milestone. I almost forgot about that. That was a big one. So I started publishing a little magazine for someone a few years ago because
Uh-huh.
she had a women's network,
Okay.
and the women's network was called the Lady Boss Club,
Mm.
Entrepreneur Club, and
Yes.
essentially it was a bunch of great women
Yep.
that were getting together to support one another as they grew and developed their businesses and what have
Yes.
you. And the former owner of the organization she started evolving her life, and that included she's now commissioned. She's a commissioned officer in the United States Air Force Reserve,
Wow.
and she's a financial planner
Hmm.
for one of the big guys, right?
Hmm.
And no, I won't tell who it is because they're not getting free publicity from me.
Listen to you. You know.
But for a very large firm, right?
Okay.
And so regulatory people above her just really made it hard for her to really manage
Okay.
this because originally it could have potentially have been a pipeline, but they were just not happy with like
Okay.
the regulations and how she would have to move forward. Just so it was hard to manage for her. So I essentially took over everything, and there's this book that we attached called Lady Boss Magazine. And so we launched an edition. It was great. A lot of people loved it. And so for the last couple of years, I've been endeavoring to find some key women and female figures in the area that are on the move and that are doing things. And I've been trying to get this project off the ground for years, for 2 years. For 2 years, I've been trying to get this thing off the ground, and it still, I just couldn't. It wasn't going.
Right.
But on Thursday last week, I got to introduce everyone to our first cover story.
Mm.
So we got to release the magazine, the mock-up of the cover, and introduce the event that the magazine is going to be launched at, which is March 8th, and it's called the Lady Boss Summit.
Ooh,
And so there's going to be a lot more marketing about that coming out over the next couple of days.
I can't wait.
But working with some high-powered women and looking for more if you're interested out there, if you're seeing this. And so this project I really feel um is an extension of a couple of different things, but the fulfillment of something that I started 12 years ago when I did my Women in Business and Leadership conference in Bethlehem. And the idea of that was is I wanted to create something for my daughters, right?
Mm,
I wanted it to be something that if my daughters could glean from it, then it meant that other young ladies and women could glean from it.
yeah,
And the idea was with all that you see throughout media and throughout on television and on the internet and through social media and what have you, you see this idea of what successful women look like or what successful women are doing.
yeah,
And it seems like the loudest voices of success are the ones that aren't necessarily holding themselves in a way that I would prefer my my daughters to portray themselves.
yeah.
Um, and so this was an idea of putting people in front of women as young women as motivation that, hey, you don't have to be X or do X, Y in order to have success. And success comes in different levels and it looks differently. And so the whole idea was to always put out that voice or be a voice to be able to do that. And so this was a major milestone for me because we're relaunching that. And I'm, like I said, I've been working with some people behind the scenes that I think are superstars and rock stars in their own right. And so I'm excited to see where this goes and where this brand will take us because the book
Hmm.
itself is already ready to go. Just right now in the final stages of preparing it for March 8th. So we're doing some ads and
Yeah.
ad sales and such like that. But there's some doors that have been opened because of that the relaunch of that book. And we're going to be subsequently we're going to be relaunching my first magazine, which was
Hmm.
originally called Evolution Magazine, but now it's called Evolve Your Business, which is a business and life. It's more of a business and lifestyle magazine, and so it's digital mostly, but limited print when necessary. So those are a couple of milestones that I feel
Great.
like over the last 12 months, I feel like I hit some milestones. So I'm excited about it.
I'm excited too. I love that your why about what you've done and what you're working on is so incredible. I don't think a lot about what younger women these days are going through, what their role models could possibly be. I have a son. I do have girls in my, in my life, or whatever, young girls in my life, but you're absolutely right. If I kind of think about the popular women out there, uh, you know, first off, it can't last, right? I mean, some of the stuff that they're doing to be popular, you're not going to be able to sustain that for an entire lifetime. It looks
Yeah.
cute. It looks cute in your young 20s, right?
Yes.
But trust and believe by the time you get to the late 30s and 40s, not only does it look cute, but it just it's something that what I'll say is what I've seen in my lifetime is people come to regret that that's what the vision of them is. That's what people remember them for,
Yeah.
most people anyway. So I'm so glad that you're putting that together. I definitely want to be a part of it. So yeah, no, absolutely. And I want to know, and it seems like a stupid question, but what is so unique? What is your unique value proposition to people when it comes to business, when it comes to these events, when it comes to everything that you're doing? What is it about you?
My unique selling proposition or my
Hmm.
unique position. If one can have the patience to grow and maintain such a stellar beard, trust and believe he has the patience and the know-how to help you develop your business.
Yeah, I already know it. To be able to put those events together, let me tell
You
you.
know, I mean this thing has I jokingly say this, but it is one of those things. It has taught me a lot of things about this beard. Right, I say it as a sage, really. Right,
Uh-huh.
the time and effort that it takes to grow it, and what you have to go through in order to really grow a beard, healthy beard. Right, the care that you have to take, and the upkeep, and there are things that you have to consider when doing this. But there's a point, there's a starting point, And then there's a point of real irritation when you start growing your beard out, right? And you see guys, you get to a certain point, and they say, I just can't get past that point of where I just want to scratch it, so I shave it off.
Uh-huh.
Right. And then there are people, then you get from the point where you've gotten past that irritation space to the wild space, the wildness of it. It's hard to tame. Your
Hmm.
beard is then hard to tame, and it takes some time
Uh-huh.
again to get it to a certain point where you begin to tame it, right? And then eventually you have to upkeep it and maintain it over time. And then sometimes you even have to put the care of your beard into someone else's hands, a
Okay.
barber, and
Uh-huh.
you have to trust that they're going to take the care of it and they're going to help you maintain it, right? And so
Hmm.
I like that too life and business.
Yes.
You know, with your business, is going to be number one, there's going to be the growing pains of it. It's going to be moments of irritation where you're going to be irritated beyond all heck. You're going to want to
Yes.
stop. You're going to hurt. It's going to burn. It's just going to be what it is.
Yeah.
Then there's going to be a point where you've gotten past that irritation and you're starting to see some growth and some success, but it's going to be all out of the way. There's going to be sporadic things happening, and you're trying to control it by SOPs, and you're trying to control it by putting systems in line. But at the same time, it's just you're all over. You're kind of you're doing this, but you're doing it. It's growing,
Hmm.
right? It seems like it, and then everybody to everybody else, you see growth. You see stuff, but everybody's like, man, look at how wild your beard is. They're looking at how wild things are looking. They're looking at but they're not seeing the patience that you're developed. They're not seeing all the systems that you've been able to create and things that you're taking the vision for it, right? And then lastly, when it gets to some point, learning how to care for it and maintain it, and so that and understand that sometimes in order for you to grow for it to grow healthier, you got to cut some things off. You got to trim it. And so when I say that, if you can tell somebody who can, I call it a unique selling proposition, is because there are things that I've gone through in both my life and business that have allowed me to get to this point where so a lot of people see it or feel that it's ease or it's that I've been, that somehow this success or this success that I'm experiencing right now, it's just been something that's been instantaneous. But there have been moments, and still are moments, where I'm left looking out there, and I'm out there looking because I don't want to look and be something. I don't want to look something. I want to be something. And
Yes.
so, in some of that means sacrificing sometimes. That
Hmm.
means being willing to sacrifice, temporary ear discomfort or endure temporary discomfort for an ultimate gain,
Right.
right? So there's a parallel to me for that, and so that's why I said that this is the ultimate sign of my unique selling proposition, is because there's discipline, there's care, there's longevity, there's length of time. This thing grow overnight, right? There's dedication, and so my unique system, my unique selling proposition is that you're not putting your hands in your company or your brand in the hands of somebody who doesn't see it, who doesn't understand it, right? But there's developed somebody who has developed over time a system, somebody who has developed over time a pattern of success versus just the scalable success, and it doesn't look the same way. Or the roller coaster success, it
Yeah.
doesn't look the same way to everyone, and still to this date, I've made some decisions to forego some personal gratification in order to see the long game for my life.
Yeah.
And there's so for me, just this thing here has become part of my identity, in that it took a lot to get to this point. And so you guys and people see what's here, right? And they see this, but they don't know where 5 years ago, 6 years ago, when I started growing, what I was going through. And that's the same thing with my business. You
Yeah.
see one thing, but you don't know what it took to get to this point.
Absolutely.
You know,
Absolutely.
and so that's kind of what I feel like the unique selling proposition for me is that you're going to have someone who's disciplined, who believes in playing the long game,
Hmm.
and has patience enough to understand that it's not, because I understand it's not going to happen overnight, right? And that there's frustration, that you're frustrated just
Hmm.
as much as I'm frustrated, because we're going to be frustrated. But frustration does not the same. It is not an indicator of success or not. It's the fact that you're on the path, you're on that pathway to success. It doesn't mean you're not going to fail. It doesn't mean
Yes.
that you're not gonna fall flat on your face, but it is going to mean that you're going through something, that you're moving and you're doing something, and
Yes.
through that something greater can happen.
Absolutely. You know, an old mentor coach of mine, Kendall Flicklin. I don't know if you've ever heard of him. He's in he created the grindation community. He said once, he says it all the time, actually, and that is people want what it looks like, but they don't want what it feels like. And
Yeah.
and that quote was made popular by Inky Johnson. And it's absolutely true. It's absolutely true. Sometimes people won't even get started because they think that it should look like perfection in the
Mm.
very beginning, and it doesn't.
Yeah.
It doesn't, and it doesn't feel good. You know,
Yeah.
some of the stuff that I've had to go through in the 5 years that I've been in business, 6 years I've been in business, is the fact that there are times when it doesn't feel good, but I still have to push through it. So I want to know. I want to know, Darnell, tell me what
Yeah.
you've had to
So
overcome. You got to tell me some of those challenges. What are some examples of what you've had to go through?
so I'm gonna lead in with I I I'm writing in one of the books that I'm writing. There's a quote that I put in there that I created, is a lot of people don't a lot of people wait for the perfect moment,
Mm,
but a lot of times that perfect moment will never show up because you're
mm,
looking for it.
mhm,
But you
mhm,
can achieve perfection one imperfect step at a time.
mm,
And I think that that's really what that's been my mantra for a while, is I'd rather look silly imperfectly moving forward, building the foundation. It's like a kid when they're walking, when a child's learning how to walk, right? You don't get out the womb, you don't come out the womb and you start crawling, and then all of a sudden you're running a sprint, right? It you look those there's those wobbly moments, but each step gets stronger, each day gets stronger and stronger. And next thing you know, you're chasing this child around the store, talking about, hey, get back here, wishing for the old days. And so that's kind of how it is when it comes to business, if you will. It's the same thing. It's just looking for those, just continue to move imperfectly forward. As long as you're progressing forward, those are the moments where perfection will eventually come, because perfection is not necessarily perfection. Perfection is a mindset.
mm,
There's no perfect thing, but having a perfectionist or a perfection mindset, meaning that your mind is set on creating a perfect situation, but being okay in creating the perfect situation, because sometimes the situation won't be perfect, but you can always create the perfect situation. Now, to your question is, what are some hardships, or I guess you
yeah.
some roadblocks,
Challenges,
some
obstacles.
challenges?
People want to know how to overcome these things. So what have you had to, what did you have to go through? What's the go through?
Try to think of what to talk kind of, because there's so many things. I think
Give us an
the
example.
one of the one of the major hardships or challenges of this
Mhm,
world, that this life that we're living as entrepreneurs or as
mhm.
business owners, if
Yes.
you will, is the isolation factor. I call it the isolation factor,
Okay.
because there are going to be moments where you're feeling isolated, although you're not. You're going to feel alone, but you're not alone.
Yeah.
You're going to feel by yourself, but not alone. You know, and I would say personally, that was one of the biggest roadblocks obstacles I've had to overcome, or those, was that.
Mhm,
I mean, losing it all before. I've had some success and lost it, and then things were good, and then things were bad.
mhm.
So, I mean, we've all had those moments, but I think the biggest out of all of those were kind of, those are life things. But I think a challenge for me was those moments of isolation, or feeling isolated. And so in knowing that those were only temporary, and understanding that those were temporary.
Yeah.
Um, Another challenge is realizing that I am a flawed human being.
Mm,
And I think that we don't give ourselves enough credit for being flawed and not being perfect and not being that. And because a lot of times what you're going to have are people demanding of you things that they can't even demand of themselves,
Ooh,
right? You
yeah,
know, so they look at you and they demand of you this perfection that they don't, that does not exist within
it's true.
their own world. And so, um, you know, so sometimes realizing that you're flawed in understanding and accepting that you're a flawed individual, not giving you license to be a bum. I'm not saying that, but
No, no.
understanding that it giving yourself license to fail, giving yourself understanding that, hey, you made a bad call here, buddy. You
Yeah,
know, it's just it is what it is. You made a bad call. It's nothing wrong with it. You know, you just got to get up and make it happen. You got to do something different.
exactly.
And so the realizing that, and then I think the largest or the biggest obstacle in front of me that I've had to overcome, and I'm going to say I'm not have had to overcome, I'm actively overcoming, or I'm in the process of overcoming, is my own health issues. You
Mm.
know, last year, a year ago, I was diagnosed with stage 4 uh, CKD, or advanced kidney disease,
Ooh,
chronic kidney disorder.
okay.
And essentially my kidneys are shut down and what have you, and what have you. And the challenges of still maintaining all the stuff that I want to do, the stuff that I have to do, while physically some days not wanting to feel like, not feeling like I can do it, you
Yeah,
know, and realizing that you're human being first, right?
yeah,
And so, you know, I want to be Superman. I call myself a superhero, right? Because that is my motivation. But really realizing that I'm not a superhero. And I'm not Iron Man, I'm not Superman, you know. And so that has been a great
mm,
obstacle to kind of overcome, you know,
right.
because inside of learning that, having that starts creeping in the doubt and some other, you know, negative mindsets,
Yeah,
because you want to feel sorry for yourself. You want to do there's these negative mindsets that come along with that, and realizing that in my humanity, right? To never demand more of myself than I'm able to produce for myself and able to. And so we're not saying that you can't mentally want it, mentally you can't achieve whatever you need to achieve. What I'm saying is being okay that there are going to be days where you can't.
right, right,
It's
right.
just going to be days where, you know what, your body has your body is telling you slow down. You know, I think last month, you know, last month I didn't realize how bad I had been. I was how bad I was doing,
Hmm.
and ended up in the hospital, you
Wow.
know. And so having that reckoning, you know, is a huge obstacle, but it is an obstacle, or it's something in the way. It's not a roadblock, if you will. It's not
Right.
something that's stopping. It just is challenging on the road, if you will. It's a curve. You may have to take a small detour every now and again. And so those are the things that I think are obstacles, or things are in the pathway
Yeah.
for me. For somebody else, it might be a little bit differently, but those are the things that I feel are my challenges.
Wow, wow. Yeah, that's big. That's big. I was expecting you to say something, like in the beginning, I didn't realize that you were going to hit us with that. And I have to tell you that, a lot of us, we don't go through the kind of challenges that you're going through, and yet we can't seem to get up the next day and keep it moving. And you obviously can, and you do. And, even when you don't, it isn't even noticeable because you do so many things. We see you out there all the time. God bless. But I do hope that you're going to recover. But yeah, I mean, sometimes when I reach a challenge, what I've noticed in my business is I shrink away. Right. So you hit me with the failure, because it happens, guys,
Hmm.
listeners, it happens. You hit me with a failure, and so then I don't want to get up and try it again, right? It's going to take me, it just takes me a long time to recover from that failure, but I'm wasting time. I'm
Hmm.
wasting time by shrinking back. And so here you are with your challenges, and you keep moving forward. And I think that, that is amazing.
So it's funny because I've been blessed in my life, right? And one of the blessings of my life have been my involvement with sports at an early age and in martial arts. And just recently, the founder of style of martial arts that I studied just recently passed away a
Mm,
couple of weeks ago.
yeah.
And but one of the things they both taught me, sports and martial arts taught me, was there are there are going to be those moments where discipline has to supersede your feeling,
Mm,
how you supersede your how you're feeling, what you feel, right? There's a difference. There's a movie that we used to watch called growing up, was called The Program. When I was in high school, right? We football. It was called a program, and this guy got hit really hard,
hmm
and the coach looked over to him and said, "Are you hurt or are you injured?" Right? For most people, I'm hurt,
Yeah.
but that hurt feels like an injury, right? But when you really do the assessment, are you hurt or are you injured? So he goes, "Well, what's the difference? If you're hurt, you can get up and go play again. If you're injured, well, we got to get that fixed. Either way, something's got to go forward from this point. You got to get up from here,
Right.
right?" And that's one of those things that I really appreciate about those moments of my life is is in your mind, you can choose to be hurt or injured.
hmm
In
hmm
your body, you can be choose to hurt. You are hurt you are injured. And sometimes the injury may hurt, but not every hurt is an injury.
Right.
And you're some when you've dealt with failure and you're dealing with those moments where you've broken, those are hurts. They're not injuries.
Right.
Right? Those are hurts. Those are things you can bounce back from. You can, hey, I learned a lesson here. And one of the things was with certain like equipment when you're training, right? Certain equipment, when you don't use it right, when your form is wrong, it things let you know that this is wrong,
Right.
right? And so it like they used to call it a sting. Something will sting you, right?
Mm,
It will give you it something's going to cause a pain because you didn't do something right. And so a lot of times it's also that hurt. That hurt is it. There's not injury. It's a lesson. It's a lesson. Okay, hey, this didn't work right.
right.
Why? Okay,
Right.
when we assess what went right or wrong. Okay, this didn't work. Okay, let's interject this, and this, and see if this helps. Oop, nope, that didn't work either, right? But at the end of the day, the encouragement is that it's just a hurt. It's not an injury. You can bounce back. You can really get up and go again, and sometimes be stronger for the moment because it didn't take you out. It just took you to a different place. You're like, oh, okay, learning. And then I look at me and when I'm going through, and to be honest with you, even that, I know so many people have gone through so much worse, right? Like everybody, and so and this is just me fighting my own battle, right? But
Right.
I know people who have either A, gone through what I'm going through, so I've
Yes.
talked to them, or I know people who have gone through so much more, right? Like so much more, so much more. And you take in perspective, like these people, went to the grave fighting.
Oh, yeah.
They didn't go lightly. It was like if this thing's gonna take me out, right? If it's gonna take me out, it's not coming for me, and it's not gonna catch me sleep. It's gonna
Yeah.
catch me fighting my butt off. And so my issue is that I looked at what my issue is that, and the thing that helped me resolve that is it this something to the death? Like, is this going to kill me eventually over
Right.
time?
Right.
Like a lot of time, right?
Right.
It's not like, hey, this is an immediate situation, Mayday. There's some adjustments that had to be made in a personal life. There's some things. So there's new disciplines that have been developed, right?
Yeah.
And it's through developing those new disciplines that I'm at ease or I'm able to continue to go forward because now I know, hey, I got to fix this. I had to fix that. I had to do this different. I did that, and so it meant, this time last year, I was 70, almost 70 pounds heavier, right? So there's so many different things that you have had to make the adjustment to help okay, some people say day late, dime short or dollar short, but here I am today, just saying, it's not, this is not a death sentence.
Yeah,
It's more of, hey, you need to slow down, you maybe need to move some things around,
yeah,
but it is, and then on the other side of it is potentially having a kidney transplant and things just go back to somewhat normal.
yeah, yeah, which is not impossible. So I mean, but you are an inspiration. You are an inspiration because, like I said, it's hard to get back up on that horse. You know what I'm saying? So you definitely are a role model for people and for us small businesses because we have those hits, right? We have those hurts, and we're thinking, we're down for the count or whatever, and just to think about you, let's get back up and keep it moving. But I want to know, going into the new year, Darnell, what are some of your future plans? What have you got? What have you got going on besides, of course, the Boss Lady Summit, which I'm definitely going to take my information on.
Well, that's one of the goals. One of my active goals for 24 is really producing larger events, more events.
Okay.
That's a goal for 24. I set out 23 to say that by 24 we're going to get into the event space, and I'm hell bent on doing so. I have a couple of different series of events that are going to be popping up.
Mhm.
That's number one. Number two, which should be happening sooner than I thought. By end of January, I probably would have published two more books. So I'm
Yes.
working those out. Those because I really, really what again, 24 for me is five books in 24. And so I'm cheating a little bit because I've already written and started publishing too. So by the end of 24, I'm already almost halfway there by the end of January. So um one of the books I've actually started releasing it out in pieces
Mhm.
in my LinkedIn articles.
Oh,
It's
okay.
called Building a Value-Based Network, and so my last couple of weeks of LinkedIn articles have been excerpts from the book.
Nice.
And so we're gonna, so that's part of my branding for that book series, and then the other is networking alchemy.
Mm,
And so that's truly, really, actually in my personal brand. I'm dubbing myself, or I'm crowning myself, or I don't want to call crowning myself so weird. I'm calling myself a networking alchemist, or the networking alchemist,
I like
because this is
that.
what I do. I love building networks. I love helping people build their network, but I also love helping them extract the value out of their networks. And so networking alchemy, this book to me, it's a great parallelism between alchemy and networking,
Mm,
and how networking itself is an alchemy if you're really using it correctly. And so that's another thing. And then honestly, the last thing, which is the first thing, I mean, I guess kind of goes with the first thing, is I decided that I'm going to start opening up my speaker itinerary again. And
oh,
so yeah, I'm looking to, I decided that one of the things that after I got my diagnosis, what I said was, I do think the last couple of years I've been doing a lot of things because I needed to do them.
yes.
And I've had some failures, I've had some ups and downs. I've had more success than failures, if you will, but
Hmm.
most of those things came as a result of the need or necessity to do a thing.
Yeah,
But what I have determined in my own self, within my own heart, I mean, is I'm going to do more things that I dreamed of doing and I wanted to do.
absolutely.
Um, in that, while I realize that the disease that I'm experiencing isn't a death sentence, if you will, it is a thief. And
Yes.
the reason why I call it a thief is that what it will do is steal time from me. It will steal energy from me. But the way that I'm combating that is being more on purpose with the things that I want to do with my life, where I want to go in my own life. And so, and as a result, that's really what I want to do is really build out and motivate people to share my story, share the things that I love, this thing work networking, all the other topics that I train and talk on. And so that going being a more active speaker is going to be something that in 24 I'm looking forward to doing. And then I've already started launching the audio event series on LinkedIn, which is called the Power Connector Conversations.
Yes,
That's
I've
developed.
been on that. I've been on that. I've been listening to that. That's awesome.
But that's evolving into something similar to what you're doing right now.
Yeah.
There is going to be the Power Connector podcast, and so and as a result, the Power Connector community, and so this is again the event arm of what I do, kind of taking a different form.
Yeah,
Um,
gotcha.
in a different way. And so really getting heavier into those spaces is what I'm looking forward to for 24. I'm already excited. And then also preparing for my daughter's quinceañera.
That's always fun. No, that is real cool. That is real cool. I love it. So, what is that one thing that will be a lasting impact on the world, or what do you want to be your legacy, Darnell?
I had a couple of things in mind, right? But if I have to give you just one, because I love people.
Mm,
I love people and I want that to be my legacy, is that I genuinely love people. I want to see people succeed. I love seeing them win. I love people from the least of us to the greatest of us. I just love people. My heart is to see people's lives impacted positively. And so if there's ever a legacy thing, one of the things that I will leave out off of this planet, people will know that I lived my life loving people. I may not have been perfect at it, but I want people to, as one of the things I want to be remembered for is that, I genuinely love people, even the ones that get on my nerves and they make you want to
mm.
you may want to choke them, but I want to choke them in love, right? It's just,
Yeah.
I just honestly, that is probably the one thing that if I ever a lasting legacy, money will leave, money will get spent if there's ever money. There's just there are things that are very temporal in this world. And they all have an impact on people's lives. But I think the one thing that what I believe I want the world to remember me as when they put something on this stone, the head of that stone is he loved people.
He loved people. He loved
Period.
people.
It is just that. I just I love I mean I like love peopling all the time. That's
You're
the
gonna have to explain that. Peopling.
peopling is just being around people all the time.
Oh yeah, yeah. No,
Wrong. It's a lot of people. I need to I need to separate myself all the time. And that's so that I can recharge and continue to love people.
yeah,
Because sometimes peopling will deplete you. And so I just want to build goals and just be able to refill and then come back and just love people, man. And then
yeah,
just see
sure.
people succeed, see people live. Everybody's never going to live a happy life, but I want to be a moment of happiness in their life.
Yeah,
I want to be I want to be the reason why someone smiles and have a great day, even though their day is crap. I
yeah.
want to that's what I want to be remembered. That's my legacy.
That's
Besides all the other, there are a few other things, but at the top of that list is that Darnell loves or loved people.
that is great. That is great. Now, Darnell, the networker alchemist, tell our listeners, how do we get in touch with you? How do we get to be part of your world in this LinkedIn, in this Lady Boss, all of this? What do we need to do?
So if you've known me for any amount of time, which most of you probably haven't, and you're just hearing about me for the first time,
Uh-huh.
the best and the absolute best route to take when it comes to connecting with me and learning about me is definitely look me up on LinkedIn. That's kind of the core places. I could tell you Facebook, but you know, don't do that to me. Websites and all that stuff. Just go to my LinkedIn, Darnell G. Davis. You can't miss me. You can't miss the face, you can't miss the beard.
You can't miss the
It's
beard.
all in full it's all in full display on my LinkedIn. That is my absolute best way to connect with me. And if you're not using LinkedIn, then I'm sorry, maybe you're not really interested in connecting with me.
Oh. Oh.
Because all my other contact information is definitely on my LinkedIn. And
Okay.
so I try to again, I would not be who I am if I didn't tell people that's how you connect with me. If
Okay.
you're at an event with me, if you know me, if you see me around, that's where I'm going to connect with you first because I want to learn who you are and what you're doing. And if you as a business owner or a professional aren't using the aren't on the platform, at least on the platform, or I'm not even talking about usage, if you will, but if you're not on the platform, I'm probably not the person for you to connect with because that's all I'm going to talk about. So and so that's just my, as my other half says, those are my boundaries. My
Those are your
boundaries.
boundaries. All
Those are
right,
my
guys.
boundaries.
You're gonna have to have
That
a LinkedIn profile of
you got
some
it.
kind in order to
Yeah.
talk with Darnell G. Davis, that's for sure.
That's pretty much it. And then, I mean, for everything else that I do primarily off of that. I have we have a great LinkedIn group. But again, you have to connect with me on LinkedIn in order to get that. And then I can supply you all with my link for the post and everything. But I'm sure uh we've already gotten that squared away. But that's the best route to take when it comes to connecting with me. Connect with me on LinkedIn and we can connect further outside of there.
That's wonderful. Well, thank you, Darnell. Our listeners, thank you. Can't wait for them to start connecting with you. And I can't wait for the next event. Really can't. I definitely want to be in person and see you and hear more about the Lady Boss Summit. I love it.
So there's
So
go.
go ahead.
So the next event is actually in January. And so I'll make sure that you have that information.
That's perfect. That's perfect.
And
Hey, you said it was on Meetup too, right? Is there a
yeah, so we
specific?
have a meetup. We do have a meetup.
Okay. Is it called something
It's
specific?
hmm?
Is it called something specific? So that's
It's called Friends of Pete.
Friends of Pete. All right. I
Mhm.
love it. Friends of Pete. I love it. I will be there. I will be there. I'll make it. I'll make it work.
It's closer. It's in Easton. So
Okay. It's closer to me,
yeah, that's what
listener.
I mean. It's closer to you. Yeah. In Easton. And so it's instead of it being an hour drive, it's 40 minutes or so. All right,
Okay.
35, 40 minutes. So
All right,
all
Mr.
righty. Well, thank
Networker
you so
Alchemist.
very much. Thank you to your listeners. I appreciate you guys for hearing me out for the last hour or so. Hearing my anecdotes, hearing me talk about me. It's not something that I do often. Yeah, right.
No,
But thank
I've
you.
learned so much. I've seen you several times and I've learned a lot in just this conversation alone. So there's obviously more to hear from you. So I love it.
Well, stay tuned. We can get you up on a Monday morning, get you part of the Power Connector conversation. You're doing
Absolutely.
awesome things yourself, and I'm excited for you.
Absolutely. Let's talk more. All right, guys. It's great having you. Great having everybody here on Show You the Business. And I want everybody to have a 10x day. Make it a 10x day. See you guys. This episode is sponsored by Day One Accounting because you got to start somewhere, so start with Day One. And by Grant Cardone's 10X Certified Business Coach program, let's 10X your revenue by 30 to 40% in 90 days.